Hello and welcome. My name is Maples and this is Literally Graphic. And today I am talking about World of Wakanda, Volume 1. The unfortunately short-lived spin-off series to Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther World. Nation Under His Feet, Our Feet, My Feet, Nation Underfoot, something like that. As insinuated by my text review, I still remain deeply suspicious of Marvel at this point. And the term glass cliff has definitely come to mind more than once. Just to quickly reference the Wikipedia definition, let us see. It says, similar to but less well known than the glass ceiling, the glass cliff is when a woman, or other minority person, is likelier than a man to achieve leadership roles during periods of crisis or downturn, when the chance of failure is highest. In other words, diverse creators suddenly have access to books at Marvel as their sales figures continue to fall. Unlike with Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I have now listened to one book from, and aiming to do more in the upcoming year, I had read Roxane Gay's Bad Feminist already. I think it was in 2006. And so while I still have holds on, but have not gotten the chance to read any of her work since then, I am at least personally more aware of her body of work because she does come up in a lot of the feminist circles in which I move. And I definitely didn't feel as blindsided by this book as I did by Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther. That said, I was a little bit disappointed as I worked my way initially through the first story by Roxane Gay because I had been kind of amped up for it. I think it was Black Girl Nerds probably were really excited for it. I mean, there's lots of blurbs on it saying how much everyone else is excited about it, and then I read it and I was like, this isn't so good. But then I actually sat down and thought about it, and flipped through it a few more times, and went to go see Star Wars The Last Jedi. No spoilers, just going to describe my own personal reaction to The Last Jedi, which is tangentially related. I really loved The Last Jedi, but most other people I know, even if they weren't like super against The Last Jedi, were kind of like, meh, they didn't get The Last Jedi, at least not in the same way I did. You see, The Last Jedi to me was super exciting because of the ways in which it subverts and commentates on the rest of the Star Wars franchise. And the ways in which patriarchy, racism, and sexism are like really blatant. Especially in the prequels, guys. Especially in the prequels. And then, going back to World of Wakanda, I realized that in this situation, I was a loser friend who just didn't get it. I mean, this is a frickin' story about two black African lesbians falling in love. Like, what could be better than that? Seriously, this is the stuff of SJW's dreams. And I was like, I mean, upon further examination, I did realize like it felt a little bit more like a fanfic than I was necessarily expecting. Which, since it is like a spin-off of another series, that is kind of what it's supposed to be. Maples, get that through your head. Plus, I just realized that it was a different kind of book than I was expecting. It was different. I wasn't necessarily in on everything, and I wasn't necessarily like going to get everything, and that's okay. It pushed new ground. It did create new things that hadn't really been before, and I am giving it super props. Super props for that. It's hard to do something that is both groundbreaking and is going to appeal to a mass audience, like myself. And I did actually end up, even in my most skeptical moments, did enjoy it more than Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther, which I still have very mixed feelings about. But that's more of a personal thing. And I will get more into that in a future video. Because since finishing this, I have also read 2 more volumes of his series. And art-wise, I didn't necessarily totally get everything either. Going back and listening to some Black Girl Nerds, I did realize that I had not appreciated quite the female warriors. All of them have their own unique hairstyle, and these hairstyles are fairly detailed and not just like random frizz or something. The art didn't initially appeal to me, and in the text review I did write down that it's fairly standard Marvel, but having now also looked more closely at the arts in the Ta-Nehisi Coates books. I do prefer it a bit to that. I'm not always a big fan of airbrushing, which just felt more like, but at the same time, the really angular shading in the other Black Panther books seems really horrible. So, you know, I think there is, as I probably will dig into more in the Ta-Nehisi Coates review, I do feel like there is perhaps at Marvel at least a bit of a inability to color dark-skinned people, but I don't know. I'm certainly not an expert on that. It just struck me that it just seemed like people did not know how to color dark-skinned people very well. What I haven't alluded to yet, though, is actually that this whole lesbian romance is not the entirety of the book, and I actually did enjoy some of the other stories a little bit more. My personal favorites was The People for the People by Yona Harvey and Ta-Nehisi Coates, with Death of the White Tiger by Rembert Brown also being very cool. I think that it also helped that they were very, very short, and so whereas Roxane Gay's Dawn of the Midnight Angels was just at the right length where it was a little bit hard to get through because you knew it was supposed to be short, but it wasn't that short. And plus the artwork for the people for the people was much more expressive. And so I'm not naturally inclined to like Marvel's art style, and since this broke the mold on that, it was definitely a little bit more interesting and really expressed the energy of the piece a little bit better. Overall, I did end up rating this book 4 out of 5 stars. As I said, it wasn't an initial fave, but I would definitely push back against anyone who thinks that I just sort of, like, am just giving it 4 out of 5 stars because I realized it ticked all these boxes and that I should like it. Genuinely feel like I changed my mind about it as I thought about it a bit more and as I delved into the review. Obviously my biases pushed me a little bit harder to give it a second or third look, but I do think it would be really immature of me to just kind of pass it off and that it was a bad book just because I didn't initially enthuse over it like some people have who are much more connected to the book. I have the privilege of not having to be so connected to the book. So yes, I am viewing it as a privilege that I'm trying to overcome. First of hopefully a series of more Black Panther reviews. I did read a handful of them in the past month, and we'll just see if I can overcome my procrastination and my nervousness about coming back and actually, get this done. And hopefully my stomach continues to behave. So yeah, talk to you later. Bye. And as always, Literally Graphic is recorded on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation. I live here because of British colonization, Indigenous genocide, and more geographically specific, Treaty 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase, which was finalized in 1805 between representatives of the Crown and certain Mississauga peoples. This treaty was a lie and has since been broken many times over. Saying so reflects only my own small steps towards knowing the truth and does nothing for reconciliation.